They are. They
Yeah?
are. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Good.
So whereabouts are you living?
I live just outside the city of Salzburg, a little
Oh,
village called Grüdig.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm just adjusting our audio levels. Man, I'm
You
glad you
sound
reached
great.
out when you saw that. What's that?
You sound great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, well, what audio equipment will do for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you reached out when you saw the equipment that I got for Christmas.
Yeah, it's like, why not?
Yeah, for
So,
sure. You know what? This is great because I everybody's going to hear this for I think the 11th time now. I've always had great conversations with people, and I was like, this should be part of a podcast. So I guess Sean got
yeah.
tired of me saying that, and she bought me all this audio equipment for Christmas. So
Nice.
yeah, and it's set up. I have two mics, two sets of headphones, and that sort of stuff. And
Yeah, set up for the one-to-one.
yeah, and then thankfully the mixer is all set up to put any input into it, whether it be hardwired phone, Bluetooth phone,
Yeah.
computer, you name it. And I can run like four
Nice.
mics and four sets of headphones off it and that sort of stuff.
Sweet.
Anyways, I think I've got everything all set up. Just gonna get you
Cool.
a little louder, and then we can get rolling.
Oh
Yo,
yeah.
crew, welcome back to the Skipper Report. Today, we have a special guest who is enjoying a beer, and I have not seen him for about 2 years. So we have Cory Snyder. Are you still the captain of the U.S. Telemark team?
Keith, I'm retired.
No. Are you?
Yeah.
How long have you
Yeah.
been retired?
Just this past season. It's
Oh,
fresh.
breaking news on the Skippy Report.
Yeah.
So tell me who you are, Cory, so people know who you are.
Well, as already mentioned, I'm Cory Snyder from the good old United States of America, now residing in the wonderful Salzburg, Austria. And I was a longtime member of the U.S. Telemark team, former team captain, couple-time national champion, and now just dude.
Are you still in school?
Yeah,
Yeah.
still in school. Yeah.
How many years is this since kindergarten?
If you
25?
take it consecutive, it's 23 years.
23 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because you started your undergrad in Utah, correct?
No, I did my undergrad in New Hampshire,
Oh, okay.
603,
Yep.
and did my master's out in Montana.
Okay.
And now going to add a few more letters to the back of the name here in
Right.
Austria. That's why I
Right.
came here.
Okay. The pile as a farmer, it's the maybe these letters, the acronym is right. It's like piled higher and deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got the bachelor of shit, the master of shit, and
Yep.
then the piled high deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, so tell us about your background. You're from New Hampshire.
From New Hampshire, born and raised, good old Sugar Hill, a place no one's ever heard of.
I have
No
because
relation to the place in New York City.
or the Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah.
But
The Sugar
there's
Hill
a
Gang.
there's a pancake place there that's pretty world famous.
There is the old Polly's Pancake Parlor.
And is it still open as far as you
Can't
know?
miss it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All
And
right.
if you show up early, you get
Yes.
a discount.
No
If you
way.
show up right when they open at I think they open at 7.
Right.
If you get there before 7:30, they'll give you like a 5% discount.
Right. So, Sugar Hill is near which large city? I know, but the listeners wouldn't know. Town?
I guess the largest like near city. It's probably almost a draw between Montreal and Boston. It's like
Okay.
halfway in between.
All right. And towns?
I mean, the nearest town would be Franconia, which maybe people know from a little famous ski racer named Bodie Miller.
That's right.
It's pretty close to like Plymouth, New Hampshire.
Yep. That's cool because you know what? My great grandfather's from Bethlehem.
No way.
Well, actually, he was born in St. Johnsbury and somehow moved down to Bethlehem, and he was a fireman in a wood mill way back in the day. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, way, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got connections.
Yeah, maybe, eh? So and then he was in the military, and I guess he got in a little bit of trouble and figured it was best to hightail it north of the border.
Smart guy.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. So where'd you grow up skiing? Cannon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thoroughbred Cannon skier. My parents used to drop me off, get rid of me in the morning. They'd be like, all right, here's $10 for lunch. Don't get hurt. Pick you up at 4.
Right. We hear stories about all the hardcore skiers. That's what their parents did, right? And your parents didn't ski, or they did that and they went off to work, or?
My mom skied. We actually got into telemark at the exact same time.
Really?
So my dad's brother, my uncle, he got me into telemark, and I don't know, maybe I was like 6 or 7.
Wow.
He was like, kid, you're not a real skier unless you try telemark.
Right.
I was like, sold. Let's do this. Give me some gear. So he set me up on some of his wife's like leather boots and 3-pins, some old K2 team comps, junior edition. And me and my mom went out in what's the Balsams? You ever heard of the Balsams?
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorite places to ski because nobody's ever heard of it. And I know, like if there's 20 cars in the parking lot, they consider that a rockin' day.
It's a rock and roll day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we used to go on vacation to the Balsams.
Oh, no way.
It was still an operating hotel.
Yeah. That's where you went and got your table
break.
That's where you went and got your table manners for Europe, I guess, eh?
Exactly. Yeah. Didn't stick. I can tell you that for sure.
Well, because you're a telemark skier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I found that place, and my cottage isn't far from there, maybe a leisurely hour. And I learned the trick that if you go to the grocery store during midweek and you buy some stuff on the back of their receipt tape, they had 2-for-1 skiing at the Balsams. So we would always hit the grocery store before we hit. Oh, yeah. So the whole family would go skiing for about $30 US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and like, I think, normal price isn't much higher than that.
No.
It's dirt cheap.
Yeah. And it was kind of cool because, I got to meet some of the guys from the New England Telemark crew there.
There used to have a Telemark Festival.
That's right. Yeah. It's too bad that place is closed down because, I loved going there and skiing.
It's just every 10 years somebody tries to buy it and open it up, and
right.
Just like northern New Hampshire is a tough place to get something going off the ground right now.
It's out there too. Yeah.
It's beautiful out there.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Everybody is out there.
Right through Dixville Notch.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the draw. Drive north from Boston 5 hours into the middle of nowhere and
oh yeah,
trees,
hundreds of thousands
hills,
of acres
mountains.
of forest. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah,
we go through Dixville Notch on our way to Sunday River all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember the last time I went with some friends was I think it was in our spring break, and it was daylight savings times that had switched, or maybe it was around Easter, and I think somebody had taken their winter tires off a little too early. Because as we're going up through, we were the second vehicle going up through the notch after a snowstorm, and the guy went well off the road and then back onto the road, and he stayed on the road, and as he was going up through the notch past the Balsams, he started pinballing off the guardrails. Yeah, and then once he started descending, it got worse than that. And we don't know how he got out because we couldn't see the tracks or anything. Yeah, it was insane. It was either that or he was driving home drunk and his wife was beating on him in the passenger seat.
Yeah, I was just on the phone with my folks and they said it snowed yesterday.
Yeah.
So.
We
still got our snow tires on here.
Yeah. I have one vehicle because it's lightweight. It's a VW Beetle. It's still got winter tires on. We were up at my daughter's place on Friday night, and it snowed up there. And I know Tabby Friedman said she got clobbered with snow down in Dover, Vermont.
Down southern Vermont, they get sneaky large amounts of snow.
They do, and it's
out of nowhere.
Got to be the elevation, I guess.
It's not so high though. they just have a clear shot from somewhere funneled into them, and they get hit.
Yeah, because they got hit insanely early this year too. So have you been home lately?
I haven't been in the U.S. for a year, almost 2 years now.
2 years.
Yeah, we were there. Me and my girlfriend, it was her first time in the U.S. We went in July
Right.
2018. And we planned to go again.
Yeah.
And the old situation happened. And now it's like she can't actually get into the U.S.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And how is the COVID response being over in the EU?
In the beginning, it was really good. So, I mean, in March 2019, whatever, there were, I guess, they were pretty, or I guess 2020. Yeah, sorry. Like midway through March, hard lockdown.
Right.
And in that time, I think in Austria, there were like 50 cases. Austria has about 9 million people. A hard lockdown. And I think like the 7-day incidents never got above 50.
Wow.
Came back down. Slow, gradual opening steps. Good summer, nothing happened. And then in the fall, it started to ramp up again, ramp up. Then there was again hard lockdown, but the second round, like nobody really followed the rules.
Right.
It was like it's unenforceable.
Yeah.
As soon as 20 businesses keep their things going. I mean, like the things that had to be closed were closed.
Right.
So like during the lockdowns, you couldn't go shopping. You still can't go to a restaurant. Restaurants have been closed for almost 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And now it's been like really herky-jerky.
Right.
So they close, open. Now some of the regions start to have like regional lockdowns.
Right.
Like Vienna in the east, they had a lockdown that ends tomorrow. And it seems to be getting again under control, but then they do things like everything's going to open on May 19th.
Right. Oh, geez.
It's like, okay, well, how's that going to go?
Right. Yeah, I know we've been in lockdown. The same from the very beginning as where you are, as most countries, and then they opened up, and especially with ski season, the hills were getting their regimen all organized and that sort of stuff, and then our conservative government decided, no, we're going to have a lockdown on December 26th.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and then it was a good month of lockdown, and which was insane. Like they closed the ski resorts, yet they allowed the cross-country ski resorts to stay open, and the places where there are snowshoeing going on and that sort of stuff. It was crazy. I'm thankful that my daughter lives 40 minutes northeast of me, and she's in what I call 541 acres. She only has one, but she has access to the farmer's property because she maintains it. Yeah. So we're able to go out there and cross-country ski and snowshoe and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So, and
in Austria, it's the home of skiing.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the national sport.
Right.
And so there was really intense lobbying from the lift companies. And so the lift companies opened on December 26th and had a full season.
Wow.
But all the hotels were closed.
Right.
The borders were all closed.
Yeah.
This is the most epic ski season I have ever had.
Wow. That's awesome.
Because there was just no one.
Right.
Massive resorts intended to serve 30,000 people, and there were 5,000.
Wow. That's crazy. And
insanity.
Good for the locals.
Yeah.
I know that's like
no money in it.
No. Our local river, which is North American renowned for salmon and rainbow trout run, has been closed. They closed it last season. I'm thankful because we get people from all over Eastern Canada and the Northeast in the U.S., but the borders are closed, so Americans couldn't get here. I could see people starting to come just before fishing season opened, and I was like, oh, man, this is going to be intense. But then the town closed it all down. Yeah. They've marked off the shores of the river, so you can't get past it. Well, you can, but it's like a police tape sort of thing. And if you're caught there, the cops, they're patrolling it. They're going to ticket you. It's like $500 and some odd bucks. And even ticketing people
Better hope that was one good fish.
Yeah. Yep. So then they've closed down the season again this year. So you know what? This season fishing's gonna be really good in the next couple of
It's gonna
years.
be pretty good.
So tell us a little bit about your
Wow.
background. So you started telemark skiing when you were 6 years old, and
7, but
oh,
who's
7?
counting?
Yeah, okay. And how'd you get into racing?
Again, my uncle, he had his best friend in high school who was this guy named Chris Rice.
Okay.
Maybe you've heard of him.
No.
He's he he was an American telemark ski racer, raced
Okay.
World Cup in the days of Reed Sabin, who was the last American to win a World Cup overall.
Now would that be
Back
like in the 80s?
This would have been well, he raced when he was older.
Okay.
So this would have actually been in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay. All right.
So he was in his, early 40s, late 30s. And he's like, yeah, I got this buddy I went to high school with who was like a World Cup telemark racer. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. This exists? I had no idea. And we looked it up online. Me and my mom have been going to New England Telemark Festivals already for a couple years
Right.
because it was cool. You show up at a mountain,
Yeah.
a couple hundred telemark skiers, you can demo gear,
Yeah.
you get lessons. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I had like the lucky finger in the lottery. So I think the first 2 years my mom and I went to these things, I won a pair of like Targas,
Nice.
pair of Wale's, a couple
Right.
pairs of Hammerheads. Like I won bindings everywhere.
Nice.
It was like wild.
I think I got to go to one of their last festivals when I started telemarking. Would have been about 98, 99, I guess. And they were up at J Peak. So
Oh yeah, the early season in December.
yeah, and so I had heard that year, Cannon Mountain, you show up to the ticket office on the first day and go, I'd like to go skiing, and they give you a ticket. And so I got my lift ticket. I skied the day at Cannon, went back to the cottage, went back to J Peak, went to the New England Telemark Festival. It was awesome, man. It was crazy how many people were there.
Yeah. It was really a bummer when they stopped holding events because
Yeah, because the guys, I can't remember the guy's name.
Biff Higgison.
That's it. Because I got some of the cool Telemark T-shirts that they have with
Yeah.
Shea Rivera on it and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He was a trip.
yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah.
That was lots of fun. Yeah, and I had just gotten into telemark skiing. I started the year before, and so I was like, wow, I don't know where I sign up. I'm kind of new, and so they gave me some advice where to sign up, and then we went and did a little ski off. I guess I did okay. They took us over to the jet at J, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I still can't ski this top to bottom. And they said, oh, that's okay. By the end of the day, you will.
Yeah.
It was almost like throw him down the hill and his skis will catch him.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it was
Wild.
awesome.
Yeah, but anyway, they held a race one year at Gunstock.
Okay.
To see it. I don't know, maybe like 40 minutes south of Franconia.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, there's a race. Mom, I gotta go to the race. All
Right.
fired up and got some gear, had a pair of Hammerheads, found a pair of skis from one of my classmates who was a big Alpine ski racer, so she had all sorts of skis lying around. Bought a pair of skis off of her and brought my best friend Sam, his speed suit. I'd never really gotten into Alpine racing so much.
Right.
It's totally like wild.
Yeah.
New sport to me, but I knew I liked it.
Yes.
And yeah, I chugged down the hill and I entered as a citizen class and I won the citizen and
Nice.
would have been, I think, second in the elite division.
Right.
And I was totally hooked. It was like I couldn't have fallen any harder.
That's
And
awesome.
Bill Stein
Oh,
was
yeah.
there. His son Brett raced World Cup, one of the best American World Cup racers of that era.
Right.
And Bill was like, kid, you're coming with me. We're going to hook you up. We'll get you in U.S. Telemark. You got to get a license. You got to go to nationals. You got to do all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay, good. Yeah. Sign me
Yeah.
up.
Point me in a direction. Put me in, coach.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about that's with everything in telemark. It was all about the people.
Oh, yeah.
Like Bill told me where to go, who to find. And he was like, oh, you're from Franconia. I'll hook you up with this girl, Kelsey Schmidt-Sommer. She was the best American at the time. She had a whole bunch of World Cup, no World Cup podiums, but she'd been fourth like 15 times that season. And she was born in Franconia. She lives now in Whitefish, Montana.
Okay.
And that summer, she came out to visit her parents. We went to Polly's Pancake Parlor, and she showed me this slideshow of the World Cup, or the World Championship, in Switzerland. She had all these amazing photos. It's like, how could you not? It's like beautiful, sunny Alps, Switzerland.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so hooked.
Right. That is so cool.
Then I went out to Idaho the next winter for nationals, got my butt whipped. And then the World Cup finals were in Sugarbush in Vermont, 2008. Right. And the team captain at the time, Eric Lamb, was like, yeah, come out, race. Why not?
Right. So
I raced and met all these Europeans and bought a pair of skis off a Norwegian. Absolutely ripped him off. Absolutely. It's the World Cup finals after the World Cup, and he was just hammered.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know any different. I was like 15 years old.
Right.
And my uncle had sort of like befriended him through the week and sort of like milked him up. And we were like, yeah, could we buy some skis? And he was like, yeah, cool. My mom wrote him a paper check for $400.
Right.
Got back to Norway and like couldn't cash it, couldn't get the money.
Jeez.
They had like so many problems. And then he didn't get a ski sponsor the next year, so he had to race the whole next season with only one pair of skis.
Oh my goodness.
He was like doing all the inspections on like Vocal, powder skis.
Right.
And then I show up at my first like real World Cup the next year with different skis because I'd switched to NTN and the U.S. team had gotten a Blizzard sponsorship.
Right.
So I was like all in on this. And I showed up at this World Cup and he was like, "Where are my skis? What are you doing? Where are my skis? Like, at least you could be racing on them."
Right. That's insane.
It was a whirlwind. His first couple of years were insane.
Yeah, I guess so. So when did you start going over to Europe? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I went to Europe the first time in 2010.
Okay.
It was my senior year of high school. So I went to Norway.
Yeah. Oh, so is that where you met
races.
Dave? Is that where you met Dave Kilborn? The Canadian guy who was over there? Was that a Rookan?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we did, with the pink hair and the
glasses.
The glasses. Yeah.
Yeah, because he always talks about you, man. In the world Telemark, or in the Telemark world, you're his best buddy.
Oh man. I was a 17-year-old kid.
Wow. Yeah, Dave I think
fun.
Was like 50 at the time, or close to 50. Because I think you raced in Lillehammer too? Or was it just all Rookan?
I think, now that I'm thinking about it, I think Dave came in the next year in 2011.
Oh, okay.
We raced in Hafjell and in Rjukan.
Okay.
And yeah, he was definitely there in 2011.
Yeah.
That was the year I was in Europe the whole year.
Okay. Yeah, I remember how hard he worked to mostly just go over there and experience it.
Yeah, but that's the World Cup Telemark has definitely changed since then.
Oh, has it?
It's definitely for the better as a sport.
Has it? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But when I started, it was there were a few teams that were really professional.
Right.
But then, like, the rest of the field was not. It's like kids from the U.S., some old Canadian guys, and some weird Slovenians, and then, like, the teams.
Yeah, I know, because a bunch of my
definitely
friends used to go over there and race. I don't know if you remember the gate judge that came with me to Suicide. You were at Suicide 6, right? For the World Cup races? Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was.
And he had a big, huge wolf fur coat on the second rainy day at Suicide 6. Wolfgang.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, Wolfgang, he raced like way back in the day. And I think there were World Cup races way back in the day at Whistler and then in Whitefish, I think.
Yeah, 2003.
Okay, yeah. So and then like Holly Blevkin, Mark Kinoshita. I think I can't remember. Those are the people that I know for sure who would travel over to.
It was a very, very different vibe back then.
Yeah. Now it's
still competitive, still tight.
Now it's more streamlined, more
But
professional.
it's just a higher standard.
Right. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
going on TV.
Yes. Yeah, I know it's it's too bad we have to get it through live stream, which at least we can get it. I enjoy Nordic skiing anyway.
Yeah. But it's good that it's on live stream.
Yeah.
Because that really, as soon as every race started to be live stream,
yes,
as an athlete, you felt the level get higher and higher and higher.
Oh, really?
Like, okay, people are like pushing in the summer. There's a lot more training happening. The level is way higher. If you look at like my like career trajectory,
yes,
it's a line.
Right.
I got faster, but everyone else got faster, so much faster.
Right.
So I like, even though I got better as a skier, my relative position never changed.
Wow. Wow. So why do you think that's a different? Do you think it was because they're like full-time athletes? Some of them?
Some of them, yes. A lot of it is just the fact that there were bigger teams who had access to more. So even the athletes that weren't extra professional, it wasn't their only job, which is 99.9% of telemark athletes now.
Yes.
Anyway, they were like, okay, they're all going to the glacier and they're training for a week.
Yeah.
And even if they only get 1 week of time on the glacier, that's like a half a second. And then the other guys that got like a full like month on the glacier, that's like a second and a half.
Right.
Just this time that they got.
Yeah.
Like half the time I would show up at a World Cup and like the first day of training would be like my 4th day in gates.
Right.
Or 5th or 3rd.
Right. Yeah. I know that, the EU, the countries are very close together. I had a friend who studied music in Austria, and he says, like, you can go from east to west in Austria in the same amount of time as it takes to go from Toronto to Montreal.
Yeah.
And so, accessing glaciers in Europe is way easier because here in North America, we either have to go to Whistler, or is it Mount Hood?
Mount Hood it's not a glacier, it's a summer snowfield.
Okay, all right.
So it stays snow there all year round, but it's not actually a glacier.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so those basically are the only two places where you can go get summer training. And if you're an East Coast athlete, you've got to book it all the way across the continent to do your training.
Yeah.
And cut into either your education or your work.
Your summer job.
Yeah.
The summer job you have to pay for your skiing habit.
Exactly. Plans for the future in your education, man. I think you and I had a bit of a conversation one day. And is your education in biomechanics or kinesiology?
Yeah. So I like to call myself a general sports scientist.
Okay.
My bachelor's, like my undergrad at UNH, they're really focused on clinical exercise science.
Right.
So that's like cardiopulmonary rehab, cardiopulmonary pathology.
Oh man, I wonder if you and I studied from the same textbook, because we had a exercise physiology prof who was an exercise specialist, and I remember our textbooks were actually from American Journal of Sports Medicine or something like that, and it was all about cardiac rehabilitation.
Yeah, that was like ACSM publishes every year like guidelines for cardiopulmonary exercise prescription.
Yes, yeah, because I said this course should not be called exercise phys 2. It should be cardiac rehabilitation. Yeah.
So that was like my undergrad, very clinical focused.
Wow, that's intense.
And then in Montana, my master's thesis was surprise about skiing.
Yeah.
And technically my degree is in exercise and nutrition science.
Okay.
But I will be the first to tell you that I did not study nutrition in Montana.
Right. Beer consumption, maybe?
High.
Well, that's nutrition. That's nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah, but it wasn't an academic study, put it that way. It was more of a gut feeling.
Right.
But there I studied definitely more biomechanics, neurophysiology. And now here in Austria, my PhD focuses on development of wearable technology in skiing.
Oh, that's cool.
A bit more in the applied sports science, sports technology. But I'm definitely a biomechanist. Sports science, general. And I actually now started working already.
Yeah.
I got a job here in Austria at the Red Bull Athletes Performance Center.
No way. That's intense.
Yeah. So I work at Red Bull, and I'm a applied sports scientist and biomechanics.
Wow.
So I do strength diagnostics, isokinetic training and testing for athletes, motion analysis, running analysis.
That is so cool. I remember the biomechanics courses I took as part of my phys ed degree in university, and we had lots of fun doing that. Sort of, our favorite were the labs where we had to film each
Absolutely.
other. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember some of the when we first started labs and working on each other. This was just in general anatomy, and learning about taking blood pressure. And it's like, yeah, well, if you don't find it, don't keep jacking the guy up and releasing it and jacking it.
Yeah.
And then
and that's like all the fun in sports science is all the tests, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And when we had to do VO2 max, and I learned that you don't want me in an enclosed space when I was in university, because when we did vital capacity, it was a little large. Yeah, it was lots of fun. I can't remember what the other thing that we did, and then people would like, oh, dude, he's turning blue. We got to get him back.
You do some Wingate testing or something.
Yes, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
They sit on a bike and spin nice and light, and then they drop a bunch of weight.
Oh
and
yeah.
pedal as hard as you can.
Yeah. The other thing was the treadmill. I hated the treadmill. It would lower into the ground on us. Yeah, that's kind of cool, man. That's intense that you're working at Red Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an insane world.
I bet
it's
it is.
So much fun though.
So is it all part of like one big complex? Because I had a friend go there.
Hangar 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that where you kind of work, or is that in a totally different place?
Totally different place.
Oh, okay.
So Red Bull is an Austrian company. The founder, Peter Mateschitz, he's from Salzburg.
Okay.
And so the global headquarters are here. The Red Bull Media House, like the global headquarters, is here. Hangar 7 is just like a hangar at the airport.
Right.
That just happens to have,
that's their museum,
cool
right? Sort of.
And then, yeah. So like Formula One cars are in there.
Right.
The what's his name? The guy the Stratos 7.
Oh, Alex Baumgartner. Yeah, Alex Baumgartner. Or somebody
Baumgartner.
Baumgartner, yeah. Felix, that's it.
Felix Baumgartner.
Yeah.
Yeah, his suit is there. They've got all sorts of, the world of Red Bull is just so cool.
You know what? That guy,
and we were in a separate facility.
Okay, that guy, it was intense because I showed that to my kids at school. Because when I would teach science, and we would talk about aerodynamics and hydrodynamics and all that stuff and fluids, but I also told them about the first guy who did it, like back in 1959, an American, and I can't remember his name. And when I was driving down to Florida, 2019. We went down I-75, and I think it was in Cincinnati, I came across the U.S. Air Force Museum. And in there, they had the actual suit that the guy wore when he jumped from high altitude. They had his balloon. It's not a capsule, but it was like an open gantry or basket or something like that. And I was like, okay, Baumgartner went up in a capsule. He went way up, and he kind of had a spacesuit on. And this guy just had his like Air Force pressure suit and a helmet and just the face mask.
Underwear.
Yeah, yeah. He didn't go anywhere near as high as Felix, but I was like, wow, that was intense, man. Those guys that worked in the space race and all that sort of stuff back in the day, like they say, right? Our smartphones have more technology than the computers that sent the guys to the moon.
Yeah. Oh, they were crossing their fingers and seeing what happens.
Oh yeah.
And they literally had no idea what they were going into.
Yeah.
Like this guy going up, in his head had to be like, could be the end, could not be. Exactly. I don't know.
And I remember they were
monitoring.
They were talking about
Felix's jump.
Yeah.
No, like in his jump, the suit, he's all wired up. They got his blood pressure live. They got his heart rate. They got his breathing rhythm. They've got all this data.
Right.
And they're live streaming it, and there's people watching, and they know exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
This guy's like, they went up, and they're like, well, let's see when he comes down.
Yeah, exactly. Where he comes down. Yeah. Yeah. And I always remember Felix talking about the tumbling that he tried to stay, would want to stay away from, and he actually got into that tumble. And I guess the tumble, what happens, like, he could have died just during the tumble.
Well, he was rotating at something like 400 degrees per second.
Wow.
Just tumbling in multiple directions. And
right.
when you rotate that fast, like...
I was going to say it'd be like centrifugal force or centripetal force where your blood...
The centripetal force is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's insane.
You have to be... His physical training before that had to be so intense to like make sure that he can withstand.
Right.
Being able to do that is hard to strong enough to keep pumping.
Right. Because you know what, when we talk about, you see people talk about pilots and that sort of stuff on TV and how they have to hold their breath, do the Valsalva maneuver, right? When their pressure suits to prevent themselves from, So if you don't know what the Valsalva maneuver is, when I used to teach this to my shot putting athletes and javelin throwers and stuff, it's like, when you go to the toilet for a bowel movement and you force it out, that's the Valsalva maneuver.
Easy.
Yeah. So do it in a jet fighter or falling from space or something like that. Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool.
But you don't do it for 1 second. You do it for like 10.
Minute. Wow. That's crazy.
Physics, man.
Yeah. I love physics. We used to start the intro to physics in the science because I taught middle school. But I would always try to expose the kids to everything. One day, my principal and vice principal were coming in to see me just to do a quick observation, and they walked in, and there's guys in squirrel suits on the smartboard, and they're like, "What's this?" So I explained to them. I was just showing it to the kids, but I quickly, started the BS and said, "Yeah, I'm teaching them about aerodynamics here and fluids. We're in the middle of fluids, right, kids?" And they're like, "Yep."
They knew what was up.
Yeah, they do. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Your experiences on the World Cup.
Where to start?
Well, we were talking about when you were 17 or 18 when you spent the whole year in Europe.
Yeah, I did 2 full, I've done 4 like big whole World Cup seasons, start to finish.
Okay.
2 at the end and 2 at the very beginning.
Right.
And what's wild to me is how similar and different they were. Like I raced at a whole bunch of the same places.
Yes.
I raced against a bunch of the same people.
Right.
I guess that was really cool that in my time in the World Cup, there wasn't actually a lot of turnover. There were some old people that retired, and there were some young guns that were kicking my butt when I ended.
So did the Lau brothers? Were they competing when you were starting?
I got smoked by all 3 of them.
They're beasts. I've seen some of their training
so cool.
videos on YouTube.
Those guys are just pure skiers.
Right.
Like they just like Philippe, especially for me. I never tried to emulate Philippe because I knew I would never be able to.
Right.
But they have just had so much time on skis.
Right.
And they have such an intimate connection with like their equipment.
Yep.
Everything is unbelievably dialed in. Like Phil would, I remember one year he skied on his brand called Le Croix.
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
It's a custom French ski brand.
Yep.
And they're actually built by Elan. So if you go to the Elan factory, they're building Le Croix skis.
Yep.
And one year he actually raced on Elan skis. He couldn't get
really?
Le Croix. And he was like, his world ranking like plummeted for him from 1st to 5th.
No way.
It's like he had such a good dialed in setup, and he had it year after year after year after year.
Right.
And then what's funny is that after that, he actually adapted, and he was like, yeah, I can pretty much ski on anything now.
Right.
Throw it at me, I'll figure it out. But just like the effort with which he could lay down something hard.
Yes.
You'd watch him ski and be like, that's going to be first.
Right.
You'd watch him ski another day, and you'd be like, yeah, he's not really trying today.
Right. It's incredible watching the athletes because I've on Instagram on my Skippy Report page, I follow the FIS Telemark page, and I can see the influence of Ted Ligety. He's got that hand down doing his skivet, and I now see Telemark athletes. They're actually carving harder around the gates and that sort of stuff when they're skiing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's 100% Phil. It's just so cool to watch like the styles evolve. Like, for example, Bastian Daya. He was
Yeah.
one of my when I started. I remember he was 18 in Sugarbush,
Right.
and I was in like taking French in high school, and he found out that I talked French, and he just
Right. Yeah.
nonstop. And of course now he's much older. He's got some daughters. He's married, and he's still a
Oh,
mile a
really?
minute.
Yeah.
But his style has never changed, and he's still one of the fastest in the world. This is so cool to see.
I always remember when I was helping out at the World Cup races in Vermont, and Angeline, I can't remember her last name,
Ajani Tanbouquet,
Ten
the French
Bouquet.
girl.
Wait, and like she cleared the guys line one day. She couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you know what? Those girls are tiny.
there's some little ones.
Oh my gosh. Like Jasmine
That's,
Taylor, she is petite.
yeah,
Yeah.
but don't get in a squat contest with Jazz. She
No.
will smoke you.
Oh yeah, I bet. I bet.
She is absolutely one of the hardest working in the physical training,
Right.
physical preparation, one of the hardest working athletes I've ever met.
Really. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
She is all in.
And a lot of the people who are, well, it would probably just be the English team. They spend a lot of time in Europe training, and I think Jasmine lives there. I know
She
Lewis
lives
Hatchwell has
in
just
Chamonix.
moved there. Okay.
Yeah.
We should talk about telemark in the Olympics and why it should be in the Olympics and why I'm going to say this, knobs decided not to do it, because I was the guy who actually wrote the letter on behalf of the telemark athletes. I know Stefan Perot goes, yeah, we'll do this. And then he goes, hey, Keith, you got to do this. I was like, okay. So
Right.
with Dave Pym, who's the head of our snow sliding association, as I call it, he manages all of the sports, and presented it. It was nice that it got past the FIS Telemark committee, but when it came to the Olympic committee, I don't know what happened. I heard that, yeah, they want to have more sports, but they don't want to have more athletes.
Yeah, it comes down to politics and numbers game. The sport that they ended up taking, they took because they could increase the number increase the ratio of women to men,
Right.
and to make it more even, and to include more athletes or more sports without necessarily including more athletes.
Right. Yeah.
They took, for example, lots of team events and events that were like double down.
Right.
So like snowboard big air. These
Yes.
snowboard athletes are already at the Olympics.
Right.
So they could add a few spots to make it a team event. Those probably would go to women.
Right.
And then you have a more balanced total field without
Right.
actually adding so many athletes.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because, like, I always like to say, free your heel, ski for real. It's the original way to ski until people started to panic because they were getting too fast, and they invented what I call the safety binding. Yeah, lock down your heels and you feel a little safer. My wife is a telemark skier also, but she spends half her time doing alpine turns and the other half doing telemark turns. It's...
I mean, that's the beauty of telemark. You do whatever you want.
My friend Mark Kinoshita, at the bottom of his email, his signature says, Alpine skiers parallel because they must. Telemark skiers parallel because we can.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but it's like, when you see a telemark race, everyone's like, oh, telemark racing, what's that?
Exactly.
That's weird.
Yep.
And then see a telemark race, like especially now with the parallel.
Yes.
Like, you can't take your eyes off of it.
It's a stadium event.
And, now they've got it dialed in, and it runs smooth, it's fast, it's condensed. You see all of these athletes, and you see them absolutely giving everything.
Right. So I'll have
head-to-head racing.
Right. I'll have a bunch of
better.
listeners who don't know what the parallel is. So can you describe the parts moving down the hill? So we have two athletes going head to head.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to describe telemark as like the ultimate. I have to do the whole thing. You can't just do one event. Telemark is like the triathlon of skiing. Every race has gates like there is in Alpine ski racing, like GS gates. Every race has a jump, like in ski jumping where you have to jump for distance.
Yep.
And every race has skating, like Nordic skating. And so every race has all of these disciplines, and you have to be good at all of them to win.
Right.
Which is wild that you actually have to be good at all of them. Some of the disciplines that's combination, it's like you pretty much just have to be good at one. But not in telemark. You really have to nail all three. Right. Otherwise, you stand no chance. So there's the classic, which is the one run. It's the Queen's event, if you will. Long GS gates, going fast. You got to jump for distance. You got to land. You've got more gates. Then you go into this big 360-degree bank to turn, the Rappalucia. It's like a big toilet bowl.
Right.
You go in one side, you come out the other, and then you got to skate to the finish. So the classic is like anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes, and it's at least minimum of 30% skating.
I tell people how long that is. So here in Ontario, we have a youth program that I would take around to ski clubs, and I would cross-train alpine athletes, hoping to poach some kids and get them to telemark and that sort of stuff. And when I would tell their coaches and show them a video while we're on the chair, because we would put the coaches on the telemark equipment also, and the kids would really enjoy that because they could see that their coaches weren't as good skiers as
they sucked too.
That's right. And the coaches were like, 4 minutes long? Are you kidding me? That's a long race.
I mean, it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare now that you get a 4-minute classic.
Right.
I think the longest classics now are like 2:30.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. Like winter time is generally around 2:30. The long one would be 2:45.
Okay.
But most tend to be like winning time around 2 minutes 10, 2 minutes 20.
Right.
Long enough.
Yep.
My first classic in Tamarack, Idaho was 4 minutes.
Wow.
That was so hard.
Oh yeah.
But like, here's another example of how time has changed telemark. We raced World Cup 2008. A classic started from the top. We raced there back in 2018, and everything was like moved down. Like the classic start was the sprint start. The sprint start in 2008 was the classic start, and the parallel start was like way further down.
Right.
It was already halfway through the sprint race.
Right.
So the races have definitely gotten much shorter. Yeah, I mean, it's much safer because you're not at the end of the race going 60 kilometers an hour on a completely empty tank.
Right.
And you can push a lot harder. You don't have to save anything. You can give gas.
Okay.
No, say what you're going to say.
Well, I was going to say there was that point a couple of years ago, because we have free heels, as the athletes were coming to the finish line, they were actually diving with their gear on, right? To get fast
especially
time.
in the parallel.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, we mentioned all the disciplines now, so I got to finish.
Yes.
The sprint is exactly like the classic. GS, jump, GS, 360, skate, just shorter and 2 runs.
Right.
So your sprint runs anywhere from like 50 seconds to 1:30. So definitely a compact event.
Right.
And again, that'll be like 20 seconds of skating.
Right. And that's what we were promoting for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And that would have been...
It's the easiest event to run.
Yeah. And it's not unlike I could see it being in the field or in a venue like the Moguls.
Yeah, it doesn't take very much.
No.
So like a slalom hill, alpine slalom hill, you need less than that to run a sprint.
Right.
Or exactly a slalom hill.
Yeah,
it's really easy. It doesn't take up a lot of space.
Yeah. We should get the Skippy report to get back on FIS Telemark and getting Telemark in the Olympics. I think it's Andrew Clark. Andrew Clark, if you're listening to this, we got to get this back in the Olympics.
Yeah, I think it's got to get first. It's just the sport as a whole needs more people.
Right.
But that's happening.
Yeah.
So it's wild. So I'm an administrator of the used Telemark gear exchange from Telemark Skier.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. So I mean, all I do is just delete everything related to alpine skiing.
Yeah.
And click yes, approve.
I do the
It's
same
like,
thing on the Free Hill Life Facebook page
yeah,
for Josh.
it's wild. But
Yeah,
this year, there were so many people requesting. Like last year was like we'd get like one or two a week,
right.
and this year I like during the ski season, like the two of us, Devin Wright,
Yeah,
we approved each like 5 people a day
right.
all season long. So like the people out there, the people know what's good for them, and
Yeah.
telemark is good for them.
And I think because of COVID, right? Like
Yeah.
telemark skiing,
Well,
that was the only way you could get into the backcountry back in the day.
yeah.
Before
Lots of people
Alpine
wanted to
touring.
get back to the roots and
Yeah,
wanted to try something new. They're like, touring is fun, but if I have to tour every day, I'm going to get bored.
exactly.
So let's try something new. Let's whip out the teleboards.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of the people who have gotten into it around here. We have small hills where I live. My hill closest where my girls grew up, 300-foot vert. But we've had 3 boys in the snowboard World Cup racing, and 2 of them were in the Olympics. On this little tiny hill. That's where they got started.
But this is a common phenomenon.
Yes.
Like, there's Buck Hill in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's in Minnesota. It's on the side of the interstate. And it's turned out some of the best skiers in the world, namely one Lindsey Vonn.
Right.
And in Austria, actually, like if you go to a big ski resort, you
Yes.
won't find anywhere people training.
Right.
They're not there.
That's correct.
They're
yeah.
at like the hill in the city with a rope tow
Yeah.
on some tiny little like slope in the city, and they're just
Exactly. You know what? We
training volume.
my buddies and I, we say that like Eastern skiers. Sorry, Western people, but you can hit me later. We have shorter hills, and so that means the kids have more time in the gates, and they're seeing their coaches more often than on. Yeah.
Well, even out west, like Steamboat Springs, one of the best sport clubs in the United States for all disciplines.
Right.
They don't train at Steamboat. They train in Howelson Hill. The same thing. It's like 300 feet of vertical.
Right.
And a drag lift.
Right.
But they're training there instead of training on the big hill.
Yeah.
Because they can get better quality on this little hill.
Well, you know what? That's like near the cottage. I love to ski Burke Mountain, and the home of the Burke Mountain Ski Academy. And like, there's this one run that they all train on, and there's 4 courses set up, 2 side by side, and the kids, the athletes start at the top, listen to the coach. There's a coach midway. They come down, talk to that coach, and then they back into the gates at the lower part. So there's like 4 courses on this one pitch. Lots of contact with coaches.
Yep. That's what it's all about. Training volume, feedback, training volume.
That's right. Yeah. Even when we were doing stuff with Telemark Ski Ontario, we would use an app called Coach's Eye. And it was like, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I am.
And I would even use that in my school, like Coach High Jump. That was my main thing. And one year I had a girl not performing as well as she did the year before, and I had her stuff saved. So then I filmed her the second year, and I said, check this out, and you can put the films side by side and progress them and move them simultaneously. And so I was able to describe to her what was going on. And I said, what is the difference between last year and this year? And she goes, I stopped doing gymnastics this year. And she's 14 years old. So at that age, stopping doing a sport that was good for her body affected her performance.
This is actually a big topic in motor learning is self-feedback.
Right.
So like just by you showing her a video,
yes,
she can like already learn what's different, even if she doesn't see what was different before. Just by seeing it,
that's
she
right.
can do something about it.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that during the training,
yeah,
in between jumps or in between runs,
yes,
you can make like meaningful changes in motor patterns by seeing it. Or even better is if you see it live. Obviously, in skiing, that's not so possible.
That's right. Yeah, I've been
you don't
using.
even tell the athlete what to do.
Yeah, they just watch it.
Yeah.
And at your level, you should be able to watch your run and then self-diagnose it, make corrections, working at such a high athletic level or being an elite athlete.
I tried to do that, and it didn't get me so far. But that's the other problem with that is that I only got that as feedback. I
Right.
never had a coach who was with me all the time. I
Yes.
get a coach like here, there,
Right.
once or twice a year.
Right.
And so I only ever got my own feedback.
Right.
And so I ingrained patterns that weren't necessarily fast. They
Right.
just felt good.
Yes.
And I maybe were looking for that.
Right.
So I saw what I wanted to see
Yes.
and I ingrained that. So like if you watch some of my skiing from like 2012 to 2014,
Right.
it felt amazing. I was generating huge angles. But I was sliding a lot before the gate. So I was like big stivet, Ted Ligety
Yeah.
style, dragging my knuckle and then big changes in acceleration. So I was losing a lot of speed, then putting the skis in the fall line, speeding up, then slowing down, speeding up, slowing down. So I felt like this felt really good because it did.
Right.
And I felt like that was fast, but it really wasn't.
Right. I always remember when we would have our training days here in Ontario, and Mark Kinoshita, he would say, Keith, you need to be lighter on the skis. You need to unweight. And then one day we were videoing it, and he showed me exactly what he meant because my heels weren't on the skis, like in that transition piece.
Yeah.
But I was like, dude, I'm 275 pounds. You're telling me to get lighter? How the heck do I get lighter? Until I saw what he was trying to say to me. So you always need to have that critical eye of somebody else who's knowledgeable
exactly.
in.
Always, even if it's just like you send your video to a coach
Right.
once a week and he gives you just a little bit of feedback.
Yeah.
It prevents that loop from just going on and on and on.
Right.
And Tanner Visnick.
Yes.
We trained and skied a lot together, and especially we talked a lot to each other about our skiing.
Right.
It actually happened with both of us that we together accelerated this loop. We were both looking at things in each other's skiing, trying to emulate them.
Yes.
And we both latched on to the wrong things.
Oh, jeez.
So we were both like getting more and more extreme in these, big angles, big sliding, big acceleration. And both of us didn't really work.
Right.
It was really hard for us to actually like break this loop.
Right. It was interesting in my learning because I was always a Nordic skier, and then I got into telemark and then racing and that sort of stuff. And, people want to make the hard charge to the gate and then turn, and they make that Z sort of turn, and you just lose all your speed. And then it wasn't until a little later working with our national coach, it's like, well, you know what? You can take a longer, smoother way around, and it can be faster.
Yeah. Line choice, ski racing is so complex.
Right.
There's so many different variables, and in theory, it's really easy.
Yes.
You make your center of mass, take the shortest line.
Right.
You do that, you win. You ski really straight between the gates, and then you carve a really pure, really tiny turn.
Right.
And that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's whoever can do that the best, but it's so much more complex than that because you have to perfectly carve that little turn.
Correct.
You can't be slid. But, to carve this perfect little turn, you've got to nail, okay, when do I put the edge up? How high do I put the edge up? How hard do I push on it? If you push too hard, you create too much friction.
Right.
And you slow down.
Right.
And how long do you hold it? When do you release?
Yes.
How slippy is it? Is it really grippy? Is it not so grippy? What happened before? Am I trying to gain time? Am I trying to lose? Of course, ski racing, you don't actually gain time. You only lose time. Just like a wild. I've been working now at Red Bull. We also work a lot with motorsports, obviously, Formula One, MotoGP, all the different classes.
Yeah.
And having conversations with these athletes, I'm like, man, ski racing and motorcycle riding are the same.
Well, I have a friend who's a retired race car driver. He's a race coach. Do you know this guy named Jeff Gordon out of the U.S.?
So, like I've heard of him.
Yeah. So when he made the move from the world of outlaws, which are like, souped up go-karts, really, dirt track go-karts, to cars, he came up to Mossport, and my friend Jeff coached him in making the transition to cars and that sort of stuff. So a lot of the times, Jeff and I have these conversations, and he's one of the earlier guests on the Skippy Report here, and we realized a lot of that stuff, that ski racing and auto racing, motorcycle racing, it's all similar, taking the lines and finding the apex. And
how do you manage how much do I brake? When do I brake?
Exactly.
What line am I taking? Am I on a qualifying lap? Am I going all out? Am I just trying to maintain long run speed? The interplay is it's the same.
It is
the same ideas.
Yeah. You know what would be interesting is it'd probably be an easy transition for us to cars than the auto athletes to come ski. But it would be fun to have them come and ski.
Involved in skiing, you in a car, the interaction between the ground and the thing doing the turning is just you controlling something.
That's right.
I think the transition would be a lot easier for a motorcycle rider to skis because the interaction is then them controlling the bike.
Right.
We control the ski. It's not you just turning the wheel.
Yeah.
On the bike, they've got to shift their center of mass.
Well, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
They've got to lean.
Yes.
All of this, how to turn and how to feel the turn and how there's it's a two-way feedback loop.
That's right.
You put feedback into the bike gives you feedback, you interpret that, you give it new feedback, and that just doesn't exist so much in a car.
Yeah, but it does in skis, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And I was thinking when you were talking about the turns and all that sort of stuff, I know I can ski all day long, and hopefully near the end of the day I get one of those runs. It's like, yep, those were all good turns. That was a really great run. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm like a total morning skier.
Are you?
I ski 5 or 6 runs, and at 11:30 I'm like, eat some lunch, done.
Right.
But we definitely have different skiing styles. Like for me, if the 5th turn sucks, then it's over.
Oh, really? Pull the plug.
That there won't be a good turn in that day.
Oh, no. See, I'm very analytical. I ski lots of times with my shadow, and I'm always working on stuff. I was talking, I don't know if you know the ski athlete Megan Kelly. She's out in Lake Tahoe. She was in the movie Our Family with Ty Dayberry.
Kelly, right? Megan Kelly Tellys?
Yes, yeah. And we were talking about that sort of thing, about she grew up in the Midwest in Detroit and skied at Mount Brighton, which is like our Mount Kirby. And, just always working to get better. And even, I don't race anymore, but there's a lot of times when I'm skiing, I'm just still analyzing my turns.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've analyzed enough of my turns that it's a binary system.
Okay.
So, of course, I would say it's one day a season where I have the 5th turn and I'm like, no, nothing's going to happen today. But the rest of the time, it's like that, just trying to find the good feeling, find the perfect turn.
Yeah.
I think in Telemark, this is why I think I love Telemark, is that no 2 turns ever feel the same.
Exactly.
And I don't think I will ever make the perfect Telemark turn.
Right. It's the quest.
Always the quest. But I will say, when you nail a turn, especially on the race skis, when you lay it over and you get the right feedback and the snow is right, there's one day in my head that I will never ever forget. It's at Cannon. Profile. The run profile Cannon.
Yeah.
You see it when you drive up. It's this big scar in the middle. And profile, the slope just goes like this. It just gets steeper and steeper and steeper and steeper. And it's long, it's straight, and it has the same fall line the whole way. There's no double.
Right.
It was one day, it's like crystal clear, minus 10 degrees, perfect New Hampshire weather, bulletproof ice. And I think I made 40 turns. They were the most consistent 40 turns of my life down profile. Early morning, nobody there.
Yes.
I can still feel like hip, elbow, forearm in the snow every turn.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
those are the days that the East Coast skiers dream of, right? We're not so much of the deep pow and choking on powder and that sort of stuff.
I don't know. I've skied a lot of powder. I've skied a lot of groomer. I gotta say, I do love a powder day, but a good day of groomers I'll take every time.
Right. That's
Love
awesome.
arc endurance. Love speed.
Wow, that's why you raced, man.
True. That is true.
Yeah.
I also would say that's why I never won any World Cups, because I like turning too much.
I remember out skiing with our school this one time, and our principal was with us, and he like counts his turns all the way down the slope. So we came down this one slope, and he goes, "I did 53 turns," and I was like, "I think I might have done 10." And then this old guy who's a telemark skier, he goes, "I did 2." Yeah, so it was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, I can picture it. Yeah, he's got a big beard. He's not wearing a helmet. He's wearing a hat.
Yep.
Two, ear flakes. It's got long strings and they're tied under his chin.
Yes, exactly. And you forgot the most important thing: knee pads on the outside of his coveralls. He was skiing in coveralls.
There's a guy who raced World Cup when I started. His name is Brian Huntsberger.
Uh-huh.
From Montana. And he didn't have, training shorts.
Yes.
He didn't have training shorts. He actually had like knee-length lederhosen.
Really?
They weren't like Austrian or traditional lederhosen. They were from Alaska. They were seal lederhosen.
No way.
Yeah. But he was unbelievably like this. He like be at the start warming up, but he's like a home knit sweater. The kind where the pattern's supposed to be straight, but it goes in like 3 different directions.
Yes.
Up there like warming up.
And you guys are going, who's this guy in the bush from the bush, right?
Yeah. Wild. Totally wild.
That was like me growing up. I spent all my life playing basketball, and when I grew up in Quebec, we played for our town, Saint Hubert, and they gave us basketball tops with a number. That was it. Nobody knew who we were. And I tell you, we looked pretty welfare, and everybody made fun of us, but you know what? We came 3rd in the province.
Here's what you look like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, you know what? This has been fun. It's getting late, I guess. Must be like close to 9:15 in Salzburg.
It is.
It is? Well,
yeah, my girlfriend's asleep on the couch out there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you go. I want to thank you so much for doing this. This is lots of fun.
That was great, Keith.
Yeah. And I look forward to seeing some of your posts again on Instagram and stuff. And I think
see if I can get back in the World Cup in a different form next year.
Oh yeah, that would.
Athletes.
Yeah, that would be that would be cool. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Cory. Take it easy. And when you talk to your parents, tell them I said hi.
Will do. It was a pleasure.
Hey, crew. Thanks a lot for tuning in to this episode of the Skippy Report with Cory Snyder, formerly of the U.S. Telemark Ski Team and now of Red Bull. Anyways, don't forget to check back in 10 days for another episode of the Skippy Report.